Hi and welcome to another one of the Tech Geeks videos. This one is a performance review on the Ubiquiti UX7. We're just going to test the LAN speed, and we're going to have a test of how this goes on Wi-Fi as well. This has a 10 gig WAN interface, but only a 2.5 gig LAN interface. So what we're really doing is trying to see whether we can get that up to that true 2.5 gigabits a second. And what happens if we turn on intrusion prevention and the basic content filtering that's in the device, will that affect the performance as well? So let's have a little look. Really simple in here. We've just taken this out of the box. It's set up as a standard unit at the moment. The only thing I have done is I have created a IP range here that's slightly different, so it doesn't conflict with anything else that we've got running. And we've created a test Wi-Fi network, which we'll have a look at in a few minutes. So the LAN interface is connected to a Windows 11 machine that I've got here. And we've got an iPerf test server. This iPerf test server is on a 10 gig network. It's actually on a bonded 20 gig internally. So if it was able to get to that speed, we should be able to get close to the 20 gig. But we're obviously not going to now because this has only got a 2.5 gig interface. So we've got the Windows machine connected to the LAN of the UX7. The WAN is connected then on to the same network that our test server is in. You can see we've got a ping of 13 milliseconds to the internet, although that makes no difference because our test is going to stay internally. So let's just run this test. It's going to run 20 continuous streams. And as you can see, we've got about 2.37 gigabits a second, which is what I would expect to see as a standard. We'll run that again just to be sure. But that's really showing us that we're going to get pretty close to our 2.5 gigabits a second through our network card. So what we can now do is we can just hop on over to security and protection. Might be a different screen depending on what version you're running. And first we're just going to turn on intrusion prevention. And I like to just make sure that all of the options, now each of these models supports a different number of active detections. This is sort of the lowest of those, and so there's not too many that it can actually detect, but all of these are turned on. So for instance, we've got 3 of 3. So I want to know that all of these have got their maximum turned on, and we're just going to apply that. And what I just want to do is just again run our test again just to see whether we get any performance difference. It does take often a couple of minutes for that to become active. So we'll just run one now while we're waiting just to see whether we're still getting close to that 2.3 that we talked about before, which we're getting. Don't see any drop off at this moment in time. We'll just give it a moment longer and let's run that again. Should have been enough time for it to test. And we're not seeing any performance difference with IPS running, which is a really great sign. We're still getting our full throughput, which is what we wanted to be able to get. So if we now want to come back here and probably a little bit more, we can just turn on our family content filtering. This really should actually have no effect. The ad block should really have no effect on it as well. So we'll apply that because those are really for web surfing. We're not doing that at the moment. We are only doing sort of basic scanning from intrusion prevention. But I just want to see sometimes that we do see a little bit of a decrease when we have those services turned on. So let's just have that test run through again. We're sitting again at that solid 2.3, sometimes hitting the 2.4 gigabits a second. So we are getting what it says on the tin. The network card is giving us the speed that it says it should. So I'm really comfortable that a 2.5 gigabits a second we can see going through this. Now let's hop on over to our Wi-Fi, because this is the one that we often get asked about. And this is often around not getting the configuration right. So let's go back to our device here and actually have a look. We've got this set on auto. So I'm not going to make any efforts around that. Remember, this is a wireless 7 device, so it should support the 6 gigahertz frequency as well. This is the bit that I'm not really too worried about. So what I'm going to now do is on my phone is I'm just going to join that wireless network and get some recording going. Okay, so you can see that I've joined the the speed test Wi-Fi network that we've got, and let's just hop on over. This was a previous test I was doing, so let's just do a quick test here. So we're getting 400 megasecond, maybe sometimes up to the 800 megasecond, maybe, but it's not a massively fast speed. And this is the first thing that people start saying is, oh no, look, this is actually not a very good device because it's got a 2.5 gigabit a second Ethernet card, but it's only doing 500 megabits a second. Now I am very close to the device, so it will depend on where I actually move my phone to how this is. But the key that we've got to remember about this is actually about the configuration in the device. So let me show you how we can double that performance very quickly and easily. So let's go over to our devices. We can see our devices set up here. And we're going to click on our settings. And here magically is what the key things that we're looking for. Out of the box, this is going to have been set up, or the default config that you get from Ubiquiti is something that sits in the middle ground of giving you best performance and distance. All the settings I'm about to do now will give you greater performance, but will reduce how far away from the device you can actually be. So you'll want to get a balance for you depending on the makeup of the walls and everything else that you have with inside your property. But I actually want to show you what this device can do really if it's running right by it to the max. So we want to increase our channel bandwidth to the maximum options that we can have on here. This will get our Wi-Fi to reboot, so I'll lose connection on my phone in a minute, and we'll need to restart it. But this is basically going, let's use all the bandwidth. Now you've got to remember, you've only got 13 channels available in the 2.4 gigahertz frequency. So we're joining some of these together and we're reducing how many we can have without it affecting getting interference from our neighbor, for instance. And the same again, we've got 30 odd channels in 5 gigahertz. So we're bonding more of these together. And I think we've got 8 or so channels bonded in here. And then we've got way more channels bonded here, but there's lots more available channels in the 6 gigahertz. So let's head back onto this again on my phone for 2 moments. And let's see what happens once this has reconnected. So I'm just going to reconnect here now. Because we have given more channels, we've actually given greater bandwidth together. And what you want to do is you want to use these settings and then try it to your distance that you need to cover. I would be looking to put a repeater or an access point every 10 meters, but it will depend upon the makeup of your building. So let's run that. Remember, our top there was about 800 megasecond, as you can see, but generally was around about 500. So let's, oh look, there we go, 1,163 meg. 1300 megasecond. So we have now pretty much, with clicking those boxes, doubled the performance that we've got. So I would have expected us, if we actually have a look at my device in the control panel here, here's my iPhone, all right, it will show in some of these options, I can't remember if we can add some extra channels, columns in here, columns. Let's just see whether it could give us an idea of signal strength and transmit rate. All right, so we start to get some extra ones. Like you can see, I've got a good signal rate over here, and you can see I'm connected at about 1.7 gigabits a second. Generally, your throughput in real world will be about half of that. So you can see that it's just dropped again because I moved my mobile phone. So I now expect to probably get about 400 megabits a second. And like I said, I'm quite close to this, but I've got some interference in between. So it is now looking at saying, well, look, I've got good signal strength here. What channels am I actually running on? I'm on the 5 gigahertz. I'm using 160 megahertz. So I should be getting the best speed that I can here. So what I can maybe do again, I could easily disconnect and try again, but it's about the balance of getting those settings right for your performance. So you can see you can get up to about 1.3 gigabits a second if you manipulate the channels in the way that you want. So just a reminder, you do that, you go into the devices, find your device, go onto the cog, and then manipulate these to what you want. For most people, they're probably going to sit around about the middle ground here, so that we get the best that we can from the 2.4. This gives us longer distance, slightly slower speeds. This gives us a pretty moderate in the middle balance. And again, our 160 gives us a good moderate balance. But if you've got access points regularly through your property, then we're using the Ubiquiti and you've got Ubiquiti ones, then pushing these up will mean that you get faster speeds closer by, and those devices will drop off speed more quickly as they move away. But if you've got them in the media room or other places, you're going to get the ultimate best that you can get from it. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of the performance that we've got. Easy 2.5 gigabits a second on the Ethernet port. And then we've got up to about 1.3 gigabits a second when we manipulated the settings here in Wi-Fi. So a great little unit. Head on over to our YouTube channel. Got plenty more box openings, how-to, deep dive guides, performance reviews, and everything like that. So hopefully you'll find them useful. Do subscribe and stay up to date.